Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video and hope you guys are doing well today. And we finally got Sinestra, and rather than, because the comms were very boring, I don't really talk for any of the footage. I thought, it's the last two bosses we've got, this and Neff. I would do a little commentary, talk you through what we were doing in the fight, how we handled certain problems and all that good stuff. So let's get into it. Now, Sinestra took us probably around 60 pulls, I think, maybe 55 pulls. We probably could have killed it a good 20 pulls earlier. And I think it was silly mistakes, a lack of optimization and things like that that really pushed it for us. But yeah, I don't think it was a particularly hard fight. The first issue that we had to encounter, and bearing in mind most people in this group had never even seen Sinestra, and if they have seen it, it was back in original kata, not for a long time. So, first thing we had to handle was the cutters, which will be coming out soon, the Twilight Slicers. They effectively attach balls to two players in the group, random two players. The only people that can't be affected is the tanks. And again, you can see on the screen now, they're going to put a beam on you. And we tried a couple of different ways. What we ended up doing is basically dragging them out and then like swapping the lines over and treating it like a net. And that's how someone in the group described it. So, Nolty, shout out. Is effectively if you imagine you're dragging a net and you want to tighten the net, you would swap the lines over, and that's how we treated the slices. We needed a bit of RNG on the slicers just because if it went on our healers, it became a little bit more stressful. But we really went into this day trying to push our damage as much as possible. As you can see, people are pumping, Stark is pumping, Scott is pumping. Yeah, I mean, I was pumping until I wasn't. Get into phase 2 and all the whelps come out. So we're going to group these up. Gonna AoE them all down as soon as they get stacked. And again, phase 2 was never really a holding point for us. We tried a couple of different things. Do we want a Bloodlust phase 2? Do we not want a Bloodlust phase 2? Do we want to try and, slow the fight down here or just get through it? We tried a couple of different things, and what worked for us is literally group the whelps up. As soon as they're grouped, let melee and maybe one range take care of them, while the range were just knocking down the shield a little bit. We realised that the timer on omelette time, I'm going to call it omelette time because that's how the Weaker describes it, that the eggs breaking effectively is based on if the boss has a certain amount or less than a certain amount of mana, so 50% in this case, on 10 seconds for the Twilight Drake to spawn, and then she would do omelette time. If you missed that, then it would take another like 10-15 seconds and you would definitely get a second Drake. You might even get a second Spike Caller, which we just found that the pulls where we had that, it was messy. So as soon as you kill the two eggs, you go into phase 3. Now, phase 3 is really where the fight takes off. That's the whole meat of the fight. The first phase shows you how to deal with phase 3. The boss has less health and, does like 40% less damage. Phase 3, as you start, you get a 100% haste buff, 4% mana regeneration. You can absolutely just crank the boss. The healers can pump heals. We found out very quickly that the fire elementals for Shammies can actually snapshot. So something we were doing is snapshotting feral spirits, fire elementals, and they do a lot of damage. On good pulls of this boss, and I say good pulls for a reason you'll see very shortly, Fire Ellie was doing like almost as much damage as I was, and it just absolutely slaps. And overall, as an enhancement Shammy that's supposed to be really weak this tier, I was doing near top damage on some of these pulls. As you can see, I'm also throwing down Healing Rain a lot. I'm getting so many Maelstrom stacks, and healing is like the biggest thing in this phase. We have a cooldown rotation that's on the right, which Scott was calling out for us. Where we were making sure that every single flame breath we had something. I think it was only one flame breath that we didn't have something for. And I think that's something that's important. One thing to note is that we weren't actually using the Tol Barad resistance trinket for this. But from what I've heard, the people who have used that on this boss, it's been so much easier because you use 1 minute cooldowns, then you use like a raid cooldown, then you use your trinket, then you use your 1 minute cooldowns, then you use a raid cooldown, and you basically just cycle that every time, and no one ever drops low. It's a lot easier to manage. In terms of rack, which is the debuff you can see on the screen at the moment, I couldn't tell you much about it. It's purely a healer mechanic, and I never really interacted with it. But one thing you can see, and I think this is an important thing to see, I should just talk about the death. I didn't go far enough away from the ball. That death, entirely my fault. It could have gone out a little bit quicker, but I stood too close to the ball. I just needed to take like another 3 steps right. And had I have done that, I was on track to do a lot of damage on this pull. But I insta-anked, I didn't want to waste a combat res. You can see people getting very low there. Got straight back up and happy days. But yeah, so the rack debuff, I can't honestly tell you much about, mainly because I never interacted with it myself. Sorry, I'm just getting Discord DMs, which is not very helpful. That was my Discord, don't panic, not yours. Let's turn that on, there we go. But yeah, so overall, like you see, the fight's at about 30%, and we were really, really good at hitting 30% on this boss. Almost frustratingly so. We would come into phase 3, we would blast this boss down, get it to like 30%, and by that point we were running out of healing cooldowns, we were running out of the haste buff, which I believe runs out anytime now for the rest of the group, and it just became very, very messy. Now, we went away and realised that we were pulling like 150 to 170k DPS in this phase, whereas groups that were killing it comfortably were hitting 200 plus. So we went away and went, right, we're going to optimise, we're going to make sure we're not popping cooldowns for the last little bit of phase 1, anytime in phase 2, let's just optimise. And as you can see, like, we absolutely slapped this boss. I think we ended this boss with like 210k DPS, which is absolutely absurd. Like, we absolutely slapped through this boss once we got to that point. Second tank dies here, and we've just realised at this point we're committing to the kill, get a combat res up, get armies out, and just keep going on the boss. Earth elementals out from both people, just do the cutters correctly, and commit to the kill. But overall, this was a great fight. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The first like 10 pulls of this, I was like, nah, I'm going to hate this boss. But we get the kill, got some really, really good loot, but not for me. We got the cloth helmet and something else that I don't even know, so, you know, it's probably not that exciting. The leather belt, that was it. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Hopefully you get a video like this on Nef very soon, and then we are all done. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Bye.